Hello and welcome to another episode of Everything EV, the podcast dedicated to everything electric. I'm your host, Charlie Atkinson, and today I'm at Williams Advanced Engineering and I'll be speaking with Technical Director Paul McNamara. Paul has more than 20 years experience in the automotive industry and now he is very much at the forefront of WAE's operations in emerging new markets. And he joins us today to talk about Williams' electrification projects. Paul, first of all, welcome to the podcast. For the benefit of the listeners, could you please just give us a brief outline of what your role as Technical Director consists of?
Sure. So I'm Paul McNamara and I'm the Technical Director at WAE. So that responsibility really is a cross between what people might call technology lead and engineering director. So my responsibility is for our engineering team and our engineering projects, but also trying to define what is it we're trying to do with our technology, where should we be investing, which projects should we be doing, and how are we going to take those technologies and apply them into the sort of real world situations that we see out there where we can help.
Just before we get into all the different projects that WAE is involved in, I was just wondering if you could give us a bit of background to Williams' work in electrification, so when it started and the journey it has been on to get to where we are today.
Yes, so WAE, Williams Advanced Engineering, has been born out of our motorsport and F1 roots. The original rationale for the company was very much around the capability that we have here on the Williams campus for developing prototypes, for developing aerodynamics with the wind tunnels and the CFD capability we have, driving dynamics, lightweight technologies around the cars that are made on site here. And there was a feeling from Williams that that's something that could be applied. Now, actually, Williams had always done other projects. The Rover 6R4 in the old days was very much something that Williams did. We did touring cars with BMW, and they were our sponsors back at the turn of the century. So the business became formalised really around a project called CX-75 for Jaguar, which was a car that ended up featuring in the Bond movie Spectre. It didn't go to production, but we made quite a few cars here and we did all the engineering around it. And the key point about it was an electric hybrid car with very high performance, which was a capability we had. Now, the reason that capability came about was because of Formula One and the KERS, Kinetic Change Recovery Systems regulation. So Williams did its own engineering for that, which meant we needed a battery, we needed a motor, we needed a controller for that, we need to integrate all that, we need to invest in the facilities for that. So the Williams Group invested in battery test facilities and we used those. The regulations changed in 2014. All of that system had to come from the engine manufacturer. So we had a lot of capability here that we didn't envisage using directly for the Formula One car. So Williams Advanced Engineering moved into that area. And I think almost the rest is history, because we did that first car, CX-75, that was a hybrid. We had the Formula One basis in KERS. We had the capability, we had the people, we had the investment ready made. And then I think one of our first projects following that was the Formula E batteries for the first 4 seasons, where we provided the whole grid. And I think off that platform then we had that know-how in high-performance batteries, and we could apply it into other road cars. We did a project for VW in those days in a hybrid car that they were doing, a high-performance car. And then we've continued to branch out in all aspects of electrification that you can see, into mining trucks, an electric drive system for a Brompton bike to sort of cover all of that. So we've continued on that journey, but we've kept lightweight very close to electrification. But they are two technologies that run very closely together, because the energy source, a battery, is just intrinsically heavier than a tank full of petrol. So making the rest of the car, or the vehicle, or the aircraft, or whatever you're doing, trying to make more lightweight when you're doing that is important. So we've very much pushed this lightweight electrification as a core capability of ours.
Okay, amazing. That was quite a nice overview of all the different projects that WAE is involved in at the moment. Before I came down here, I was having a flick through the WAE website, especially on the electrification programs tab. And yeah, like you said, there's the Anglo-American mining trucks and the Airbus project as well. Would it be fair to say that electrification is right at the very heart of WAE at the moment, and it's front and centre of what you're doing here?
Yes, with the one qualification of lightweight electrification, it is at the heart of what we're doing. I mean, certainly we see that electrification is the direction that the transport business as a whole is going in. Some aspects of it will have to be hybrid, probably hydrogen fuel cell hybrid, but nevertheless those systems are an electrified system. They have electric motors and they have a battery, and that there maybe is a hybridization on top of it. So we see our core know-how, which has come out of high performance and motorsport, as being widely applicable in that industry, and something that we can help the industry with from our experience.
Now, you know better than I do that there are a lot of companies out there that are similar to WAE and work in the same industry as WAE that perhaps don't have electrification as high up on their list of priorities. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on why it's so important to Williams and why it's so important to be pushing the envelope, if you like, when it comes to electrification.
I think it's the roots we have in motorsport. So for motorsport, we need to find a new solution the whole time. And the benefit of motorsport in terms of an engineering environment from which to work is it's both relatively controlled. You know the environment you're going to work in, and it's also very data rich. So you know what you've done. You tend to record what you've done afterwards. So therefore, for an engineer, it's almost the perfect test bed situation. And combined with that, this pressure to do better on it for obvious reasons, sort of thing. So we can take the learning from that. One of the best examples that I use was from the first 4 seasons of Formula E batteries. We did a lot of work to try and create prognosis on issues with batteries. So the batteries would have to have occasional maintenance. We wanted to define when will that be needed. Is it next race or the race after, rather than us having to react at a racetrack, so that we could then have people there. And it was the data across the 4 seasons that allowed us to develop algorithms to do that. But once you've got an algorithm that says, okay, the way this battery is behaving means that we'll have to take an intervention in 1,000 miles time or something, that has a very wide applicability across the industry. So if you're a critical equipment manufacturer like mining trucks, for example, has an application there, because you really don't want a mining truck to have an issue because it's a productivity thing. If one's down for 3 hours whilst it's having a product, Similarly, if you're trying to look at aircraft, you've got a safety case to try and meet about the battery state of charge and state of health. That's very critical. So all those things coming from motorsport can drive into other industries. And that's, I think, getting to your question, why is it we're more nimble? I think it's a motorsport background that means that we can do things, or we're forced to do things more quickly, and we have this richness of data to work on.
You just touched on there that Williams, as a company, has a rich background in motorsport and has a rich racing heritage. And obviously with that now, there's the commitment from WAE to electrification. We're also seeing Formula E becoming more and more popular. The Extreme E racing series is growing quite quickly as well. I just wanted to touch on motorsport and electric motorsport in general. Do you think we're now getting to a stage where electric motorsport is at a point where it can overtake the likes of Formula One and other traditional forms of motorsport, if you like? And yeah, are we at that turning point where electric motorsport is becoming a dominant form of motorsport?
The way I see it is less of a overtaking or dominating story. I think Formula One has an important appeal and following and sport, and there it is. And I do believe it has a long and strong future. The electric motorsport, I think, will continue to grow and will continue to be a different thing for the foreseeable, as far as I can see it. The difference with electric motorsport is it will want to promote and have technical challenges around the issues that are relevant to electric cars and are relevant to the manufacturers of those cars. So certainly what we've tried to do with things like Extreme E is try to put electric cars into a different environment. People might see them as slightly urban, not rough and ready and out there in the outdoors, so Extreme E sort of presents it like that. Range is obviously an issue with electric vehicles, so Formula E, going further, going faster is an important objective which we're part of. And part of that whole range situation is how fast you can charge. So I think there will be evolutions in the way that electric racing happens to put more emphasis onto fast charge events, whether that's Extreme E, Formula E or any other event. So I think the popularity will run in parallel with internal combustion engine racing, and we call it that. I think they will run in parallel for a long time. They're slightly different sports, and I think in the sporting arena there is always a lot of space for lots of things. And for me, I don't worry about the competition of the two. I think there will be different audiences and enjoy it that way. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Now, one other thing I did just want to touch on, which some people might not be aware of, is the WAE's new partnership with Ital Design for the production of a new high-performance vehicle. I was just wondering if you could shed some more light into this partnership and what that's hopefully going to bring forward.
We at Williams have worked for a number of years on electric platforms. We first presented an electric platform 4 or 5 years ago, very much as a concept showing how you can take electrification of a vehicle, bring it in with lightweight and aerodynamic ideas and reimagine what's the underpinnings of a car, rather than taking an internal combustion engine vision of a car and how do you electrify that. Now, that's sort of an obvious industry theme. With the partnership with Ital Design, we've taken that another step further in that we have taken our ideas about the skateboard at the bottom of the vehicle together with Ital's ideas about how you integrate the top of the vehicle with a skateboard to produce what we would call a real platform, in that it is a complete car with a number of different body styles possible within that, a number of different range options available for that battery as well. And so we are both showing the art of the possible as two innovative companies sort of wanting to inform the industry about what can be done, but also offer a practical solution to companies who have a relatively niche volume expectation, and that might maybe major OEMs who wants to have a low volume performance variant, or what is increasingly, and I think electrification has enabled, is car manufacturers who aren't a traditional major OEM to consider making volumes of 5,000-10,000 a year. And again, us pre-preparing how that could be done is what we were looking to present between us and Ital Design.
And in the announcement of that partnership with Ital Design, there was a quote from yourself that said that the demand for these types of vehicles is high, but so far there's not been a complete EV production solution. Could you just expand on that and explain what some of the challenges are from an engineering perspective with producing high-performance electric vehicles?
From a business case point of view for a high-performance vehicle, it's always a bit problematic because you've always got less of them being made, so therefore the money available to set up your production line and do the upfront engineering is always a challenge to make the business case work. So that's why something that's pre-prepared and you've got a sort of starting point both in the engineering and the manufacturing solution always helps in that situation. From a technical point of view, as well. Standardization, not reinventing the wheel, reduces risk, speeds up time into market, and often agility of time into market is another important driver for these sort of companies. So I think it offers both commercial benefit and a time to market benefit that is what we're wanting to present. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. I also wanted to talk about WAE's involvement with Lotus and with the production of its dedicated electric hypercar Via Via. Now we're at a stage where the number of electric cars on the road is growing, Formula E and electric motorsport is becoming more and more popular, and the development of electric high-performance cars are increasing, not to mention all the other electric projects out there. Are we now at a turning point where electricity is becoming the go-to source of power for vehicles?
So for us at WAE, we have very much backed the idea of electric cars. I think it's clear that that's the direction of the industry. Most of the new announcements are talking about complete EVs as well as plug-in hybrids. I think the industry has taken on board that that's the way forward. In many ways, the actual car production industry is a little bit ahead of the infrastructure, and I think that's what's going to be the key enabler for it really taking off. People talk about range anxiety. I think that is in fact recharge anxiety, and so it's about this ability for the industry charging ahead to produce the vehicles, but also for the infrastructure to exist, that people feel comfortable they can recharge it when they need to. Both of those things are happening. I think we are at a turning point. I think, to be honest, certainly Europe, UK, US, China have recognised that turning point, and the car industries that underpin the majority of the world's manufacturing has done that as well.
Okay, and just to finish, what is next for WAE, and can you shed some light into any other electrification projects that are currently underway or planned for the future?
Thanks. Yeah, we are very active in trying to take our core, which we've discussed is motorsport and cars, high performance cars, and see what we can apply into other industries where that direct experience will help. So bikes to mining trucks to vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. We do see the aerospace and defence sector as important recipients of sort of technology we can bring. We have been working with BAE Systems on their Tempest program around electrification and thermal management, and so I think that's something that we can bring. And as we deepen those type of relationships with those sort of major companies in the aerospace sector, I think there will be new applications for the sort of technologies that we've developed here.
That's it for today's podcast, but we will be staying with Williams Advanced Engineering for the next episode, where we'll be joined by WAE's Head of Motorsport, Doug Campling, to talk about his role and some of the biggest challenges that come with working in electric motorsport. The full episode with Doug will be released soon, but for now, we hope you enjoyed this podcast, and please do remember to subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts from to ensure you receive every episode as soon as it's released. You can also follow us on Twitter with the handle @EVPowered, and you can also head over to evpowered.co.uk for daily news coverage, features, and much more. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.